I've never made turkey before, I've never made stuffing, I've rarely cooked for more than 3 people, but apparently I'm a masochist because I am making an entire Thanksgiving dinner. Fortunately, Anthony Bourdain has an entire guide that I'm going to test from start to finish. Welcome back to Bourdain.
Everybody should know how to use a knife. Use everything, waste nothing. Let's start at the beginning. It ain't that hard, okay?
Welcome to my kitchen. Hope you're doing well. My name is Mitch May. I'm learning how to cook, and usually I work through Anthony Bourdain's Layout Cookbook. Today, however, we're breaking into his Appetites Cookbook, which I personally really like. But in this cookbook, Bourdain has an entire guide for us. This is an entire step-by-step process of me making Thanksgiving. I am going to throw my little tweaks and improvs because instead of going out on Friday nights, I Google how to dry brine and proper resting times for a turkey. Both Anthony Bourdain's Appetites Cookbook and his Layout Cookbook linked down below in the description. Enough talk, let's get moving. So AB has this guide broken down into 3 days. Day 1, shopping and making stock. Day 2, turning the stock into gravy, prepping our sides and pre-baking our stuffing. Day 3 is when we make everything. The main tweak I'm going to do here is shop about a week ahead of time for 2 reasons. 1, shopping is stressful. 2, our turkey has to defrost. I figure if we shop 3 days before Thanksgiving, depending on the size of the turkey, it won't be defrosted in time. So what I have decided on making and what I have shopped for already includes turkey, gravy, stuffing, cranberry relish, mashed potatoes, Brussels sprouts with bacon, and creamed pearl onions. But everything has been acquired. Let's jump straight into day 1. So the prep begins. Get comfortable, play some music, and let's make some stock. Ideally, we begin with 5 pounds of turkey wings. However, these are chicken wings. I figure that'll suffice. I lay them out in a greased roasting pan, season with salt and pepper, and this will go into a 425-degree oven for about 45 minutes until nice and brown. While those are roasting away, I figure let's chop up all the vegetables we're gonna need to assemble this stuffing for tomorrow and get the vegetables chopped for the stock as well. I'll go over the exact measurements tomorrow when we make the stuffing. With some time to spare, I decided to chop up some onions for caramelized onions. I do want to show the difference between cutting onions 2 different ways. Our first method on display, we're going with the grain of the onion, resulting in a firmer onion and also a sweeter taste. Next, we're cutting orbital, which will actually rupture more cells and the onion will have a stronger taste but break down better. Here we have the difference. I prefer cutting our first method, but you can do it either way. These are going to get broken down and I don't think it matters too much. A liter of tears later, we are ready to turn these into gold. Over a high heat, initially I add about a tablespoon of olive oil and a strong pinch of salt. Not too much because these are going to reduce heavily. Next, I add about a half cup of water to jumpstart the process of breaking down these onions. Once I hear bubbles, I give these a stir and bring that heat down to very, very low. These will cook for about 4 to 5 hours and I'll stir them about every half hour or so. The chicken wings took about an hour and we transfer them to a large heavy bottom stock pot. And we're actually going to reserve the drippings for further use tomorrow. Deglazing our pan over medium-high heat with about half a cup of dry white wine, making sure to get up all these delicious bits. This is the fond, this is the flavor, this is what really matters. This goes into the pot, getting every last drop, and I actually had a chicken carcass from a dish I made a few days ago, so this goes in as well. Adding our rough cut vegetables, 1 carrot, 1 onion, 2 celery stalks, and some peels and little mushroom stems I had lying around. 4 to 6 thyme sprigs and some parsley scraps, cause why not? And we add water. This is about 2.5 to 3 gallons here. I think you can go upwards of 4. We're going to bring this up to heat over a simmer, not a freaking boil. I found we had some time to spare here as the stock is coming up, so why not make the cranberry relish? 3 ingredients. 1 medium-sized orange, ideally organic because we are going to be using the entire peel, everything included here, cut up into little chunks. 3 cups of fresh cranberries, which happens to be the average bag you can buy at a supermarket, into a food processor. Our entire orange goes in and we're going to pulse this. I give it a stir once or twice and continue pulsing until it's a nice gritty, that doesn't sound too appetizing I know, but a nice blended texture. To finish off, we add 1 cup of table sugar, mixing this in. As is, giving this a taste, I really enjoyed it. However, I felt it could use a little punch, just a little more acidity, so I took some balsamic vinegar and also adding the juice of half a lemon. This really brought the flavor up, I think. Personally, I like cranberry sauce pretty tart because Thanksgiving is a very, very fatty meal in general. This will go into the fridge until until it's time to cook everything, and I take a little break for about 2 minutes. We're just going to cube up some stale bread. Fortunately, when I was working a catering job, there was some rolls that were otherwise going to get thrown out. So I brought them home, and deluxe, I was just told I could take this box home. If you need it, just like message me on it, call the cops, I don't know. Now this bread is quite stale. I chop it up into about 1/2 inch cubes, and Bourdain says we're going to need 10 to 12 cups of this stuff. I definitely hit more in the range of around 14, 15 cups. I just felt like a little extra wouldn't hurt. Our stock comes up to a nice simmer, and now we are going to skim the top of it periodically. Now let's do something that is not in Bourdain's book. However, it's going to make the actual cooking day much easier. We're going to spatchcock this turkey, which is just a weird, strange name for removing the backbone. Ideally, you're going to get some nice sharp shears. I don't have sharp shears, but I do have a very sharp knife, which is going to claim blood later in this video. Taking our time shearing through that backbone, and it comes out. We definitely could have roasted this with our wings as well, but I just didn't. And now we have to break the breastbone, something I actually struggled with big time. I found it was easier to just rip the thing open and kind of cut underneath it rather than press from on top of it like I was giving it CPR. Eventually we do get there. This thing is nice and flat. Now we salt quite liberally, making sure to get every little corner I can. I also give the wingtips a little crack and tuck them behind the bird. This way they won't burn when we put it in the oven. We liberally salt the skin side of this turkey. This is what they call dry brining, which has a few benefits. After this rests in the fridge for a day or two, the moisture is going to be wicked away due to the salt, and the salt is actually going to penetrate into the flesh, allowing a crispier skin. This is now going to go into a roasting pan. I had some apples and celery lying around, put them on top of a rack, and I try to maneuver this thing into the pan, and it just doesn't work. I found the legs weren't really attached at all, so why not remove them, reorganize this thing, and make it fit? I'm actually pretty satisfied with how this looks. It seems to just kind of fit in there all snug and nice. I give it a little extra salt for good measure, and we place towels over this so it can dry in the fridge and also offer a little protection. Our onions are reducing. This is about 3 hours later, and our stock, I'm gonna let that thing simmer low and slow for the entire night. After some real-time editing, this is our caramelized onions 5 hours later, and we have finished day 1. It is day 2. The house smells amazing, and we're going to strain out our stock. I like to first scoop out the big chunks with a ladle or spoon, because when pouring this to strain it, sometimes some hot broth can go flying, like right there, onto the book, which kind of sucks. Now it's worth noting AB would have had us finish our stock yesterday. Thus, our stock would have cooled, and there would be a nice layer of fat we can remove. So before we add it to our gravy and stuffing, I'm just going to give it a nice stir. To our battle station, Pops is making smoked meal top right. We add 2 cups of dry red wine to a large pot, 2 coarsely chopped shallots, and after giving our stock a stir, we add 3 quarts of it to the pot. Being careful because the stock is a little warm still. This is going to be brought up to medium high for 45 minutes to reduce this by half. While that's reducing, we do all the prep for tomorrow, getting our pearl onions peeled, chopping up herbs, and any other sides you're looking to do. This is when we cut them up. Come back to our stock, which has now turned into a really nice, rich reduction. We strain this out precariously. I seem to not know any other way, and I actually give it another strain via some cheesecloth I had lying around, just to get any tiny little material out of there if we can. Now to make a roux, which is equal parts fat and flour. The fat we're using is actually from the stock we made yesterday that we reserved, and it's supplemented with a little butter, equaling 2/3 of a cup. We melt all of this down, and then we add 2/3 a cup of flour. Mixing this up over medium-low heat until it begins to froth and bubble, then we'll continue cooking for about 2 to 3 minutes. Now we add the reduced wine stock mixture into our roux and stir. You should use a whisk, which I do opt for later on because there are clumps, and I did actually save some reserved pan drippings from a chicken I made a while back, and this stuff is just gelatinous gold. Mix that in there well, and this is going to boil while we're whisking it for about a minute or 2. The gravy is all but finished. I jack it up with a little bit of demi-glace I have chilling in the freezer. Bourdain is not opposed to a little splash of fish sauce and Worcestershire sauce just to give it an extra kick. We season with salt and pepper, and the gravy is good to go. I let it cool off and put it in the fridge. It is time to initiate pre-baking our stuffing. All ingredients that were chopped yesterday, we're going to use 1.5 cups of chopped up peeled chestnuts in the oven to roast for about 10 minutes at 450 degrees. In optional Mitch edition, I get a pound of ground sausage, brown this really well on a medium-high pan, rendering out some fat and also getting a nice fond on our pan as well, which we reserve to the side, and add our finely diced vegetables, 4 shallots peeled and finely chopped. In addition, we have 1 large carrot, 2 celery stalks, and 1 large yellow onion. Strong pinch of salt to draw out some moisture. We mix this up over medium heat and then add 4 tablespoons of butter, cooking this down for about 4 to 5 minutes until it's nice and fragrant, the vegetables are translucent, and we have deglazed our pan. The chestnuts are finished, they're all nice and toasty. We then move our vegetable mixture into a bowl. With just a little more butter over medium-high heat, we add 1 pound of finely chopped wild mushrooms. These are mainly shiitake mushrooms. Sauteing again for about 4 to 5 minutes, getting the moisture out as well as we can. Right here the camera did die, so we add a 1/4 cup of finely chopped sage and 2 teaspoons of fresh thyme leaves, mixing this for about a minute until nice and fragrant. We then deglaze this mixture with 1/2 cup of white wine, stirring until you get that alcohol smell out. Now we just mix everything up with our bread cubes. We have the chestnuts, our nicely browned ground sausage, the vegetables which we sauteed and sweated down. Give this a quick stir and add a 1/3 cup of finely chopped fresh parsley, which again we prepped up yesterday. Next we add 2 eggs that have been beaten down, and little by little we are going to add our quart of stock. I was hesitant doing this. I felt like it was just too much liquid, but I found it was a good idea to chop up more bread yesterday because there was a lot of moisture to be soaked up. Continue to stir this up. Being delicate, we want these cubes to maintain their shape, and we season with some salt and pepper. Since we have some excess stuffing here, we're going to need 2 greased roasting trays. We spread this out, again being gentle. We don't want to really compact these chunks of bread. And I decided to add a little raisins just to give one of these a nice little sweet kick. These then go into a 375-degree oven covered for 45 minutes. Once finished, these look and smell amazing as is. I had to stop myself before diving in. We're going to let these cool, cover them again, and put them in the fridge. That will wrap up our day 2. I then tried jumping back into the restaurant business. A past surgery jacked up my ability to work, and I figured let's give it another go. It was awesome. The food was great, the people I was working with were great, but upon testing the waters, I'm still not 100%, and I was in pain, so I had to quit that day. This was demoralizing, coming to grips with my limitations, and I almost cried on the way home. But we let the emotions pass and get ready to cook. Enough of the pity parties. I have the turkey that's been coming up to room temperature. It's been sitting out for about an hour, so I got some garlic cloves. Why the hell not? Let's put them under. And we got our traditional herbs going on. Sage, thyme, rosemary. There's real no rhyme or reason to this. I'm just kind of swinging them in here. This isn't really gonna season the bird. I think if anything, it's gonna season the pan drippings. Into the oven, 450 boy. That is gonna hang out for an hour. We're gonna rotate the turkey and we're gonna make the mashed potatoes. So, spuds, this is about 2 pounds. There's some salt in here. We're gonna bring this up to a boil. Upon further thought, I'm thinking this turkey actually looks too good for only halfway done. Looking really nice, GBD up in there. So I'm gonna knock down the temperature to 425. The potatoes are nicely pierceable with a knife. So it's now time to dump them. It's been about 15 minutes. Let them hang out for like 3 minutes. These are supposed to be used with a ricer. I don't have a ricer. I'm just gonna mash them like they did in the olden days. Maybe could have used more time. Total amateur move. Now we have just a little bit of butter. 3 sticks. Bourdain actually calls for 4 sticks. So little by little, we're gonna mix those in. Yeah, let's check on the turkey. Holy balls. That's looking very good. So the breast has to read 150 at the deepest part. Thigh, which has to be cooked, has to hit 165. Can't even read that. Yeah, I'd say that's done. Yeah, that's done. Wow, probably overcooked this, honestly. Over here, back to our spuds, little by little. And now we add our cream, a 1/3 cup of cremel, as if these weren't rich enough. There's chunks of potato in there. Needs some serious salt. A little white pepper. Potatoes, done. At this point, we're going to pull our stuffing out. Already cooked for the most part. We're gonna let this come up to room temperature. It's gonna sit out for about an hour. Now we're gonna start creamed pearl onions, which I think is pretty neat. 2 tablespoons of butter into our pan. It's gonna melt over medium heat. At this point, I kind of want to take the turkey out and I want to get the juices all ready to go because we're gonna jack up our gravy and our stuffing with those pan juices. Woo! Woo! Our butter has melted. We add equal parts flour. Give that a nice whisker. Let that cook out for about 2 minutes or so. Now we're gonna add our whole milk. They say add little by little, but I don't know, man. Just doing what I feel. And we're gonna bring this up to medium high. Thickened up rather nicely. At this point, I'm going to jack it up. Those caramelized onions we had, I'm gonna add them. The herbs we chopped up, I forget how much they are. It's gonna be at the bottom of the screen. Get that off the heat. Give it a test with some white pepper. Give it a hit with some salt. It looks like French onion dip. That's pretty good. And now we have our pearl onions, which I cooked up, boiled them in water for about 3 minutes, and they're gonna go in with our wooden spoon. Okay, back into our pot. Get all that goodness in there. And this is gonna go in the oven. Not yet, I think it's a little too early. I have kern, which I'm just gonna throw in the oven right now. It's at 425. And we're gonna move on to our sprouts. About 3 tablespoons of bacon fat. It's over medium heat. I got that bacon fat from these boys. We're gonna get our sprouts in. Watch out, I don't want you to get hurt. Overcrowded pan, whatever. It is a battle for space right now. Well, that's coming up to temperature. The key is to have hot gravy. We have 2 gravies, as a matter of fact. The red wine is a little too much for my brother. Get this turkey gloop in here. What the hell? That's so strange. Other turkey gloop in the small boy. See, that's much less viscous. Gravies. Put them over there for the time being. Maybe even give them a splash of our magical pan drippings. We're gonna dollop a daisy, badow. Slowly come up to temperature on our stove. Just kidding. I'm gonna crank that down to 4.5. Take that off for the time being. We're gonna get the stuffing into the oven. I have 2 stuffs, 425 for like 15 minutes. Let's come back to our sprouts. They're at a lower temp. I like that more. The one place I used to work at, we always had undercooked sprouts, and that shit sucked. Got our sprouts cooking. We got our mashed potatoes warm. The pearl onions are warm. They're gonna get finished off in the oven. Our stuffing is in the oven. Our corn is in the oven. We're looking good, we're looking good. We're gonna continue cooking these sprouts, and this is kind of gonna be the crescendo once the sprouts are finished. We now add our chunkies of bacon. And if it didn't get any worse, dollop of freaking butter in there. Just give them a nice coating. Season with some salty, with some pepper. We do a little bit of lemon juice, about a tablespoon. A hot sample. Let these hang out here. Move our gravies on the stove. That looks, oh, that's just freaking me out a little bit. We're going to move this into the oven. I didn't expect that to be doing that, but that's okay. Into our toaster oven, 425. Now we carve the turkey. Special turkey talk time. Rachel has just come here. She's got a story to tell us while I go to town on the turkey. It's the story, what's
just
the tea?
got here, guys. Had to walk a whole block to get in here because my father's late.
Look at this.
And I was just gonna park in the driveway blocking everyone from leaving, but that's okay because I'm leaving later. Anyway, had to walk in the cold.
Okay.
That's it.
Oh, that was it?
Yeah.
Okay, this was Turkey Talk with Rachel. Ah, I cut myself. Cut, literally. I don't know what I did there. I was just going in for the joint like I usually do. Oh, I see. I cut way too deep. And now we go after the breast. Still steaming. This has been resting for an hour. Real quick, let's check on the stuffing. Oh yeah, she's getting crispy. She's getting nice. She's getting real nice. Everything is coming together. My finger hopefully is as well. If you'd like to join my journey, if you want to see what I'm up to, think about subscribing. It supports me big time. Let's get everything on the table. So that was pretty fun for what I would equivalent the, is that a word? The equivalent of entering the Dragon's Den for a home cook. Pretty solid guide. For a few things I would tweak, and maybe if you wanted to try everything yourself. One, I think making your own stock can be excessive, especially if you have to go out and buy the ingredients. I hate to say it, but maybe it's just a testament to my culinary capabilities. Better than bouillon, and some other store-bought stocks are just as good. Take zero time. As far as I can tell, the difference is negligible, especially for people enjoying the dinner. Another thing for the pearl onions, those are a bitch to peel. You can pre-buy them. Near me, we have a produce junction. There's like 2 pounds for $5. And finally, the gravy. For some people, that red wine gravy can be a little too strong, and I love red wine, but next time I would either reduce the red wine and then add stock, or just maybe use some white wine. But overall, freaking amazing. I had enough sides to go to my neighbors, my grandma. Thank you for spending your time with me. This was a Thanksgiving special of Back to Bourdain.
Stay organized, you clean up after yourself, you do the best you can.
Hi, Mitchell. This is Mama. I wanted to thank you for the turkey dinner. It was really good. I guess working. So I'll talk to you another time. Love you. Bye-bye.